Welcome to the penultimate episode in our series on the first Transformers film. In this part, we will be covering the rest of the Battle of Mission City, as well as the resolution to the movie itself, where we get to go over some logistical issues. Joy! So without further ado, let's get into it. My name is Paul, and this is Plot Spy. Welcome to Plot Spy, the place where we analyze stories and try to determine what makes them succeed or fail. Last time, we followed the Autobots to Mission City, witnessed Optimus begin his campaign of bloodlust, and lots of robot fighting and running away. Now we pick up the story as Sam carries on without his Autobot escort, which quickly turns bad because Megatron finds him. Why doesn't Megatron just blast him? Surely the Allspark can take that kind of hit. Then again, we saw what it did to Prime, maybe it can't. Maybe Megatron's fusion cannon is the only weapon in the universe capable of destroying the Allspark. Regardless, Megatron somehow doesn't catch up to Sam despite his stride being several times larger than Sam's, and the boy crashes into an Escalade which, somehow, finally triggers a pulse from the Allspark, bringing some technology to life. But it doesn't seem to turn some other technology into robots, like all the phones in these people's pockets. Also, it oddly doesn't turn the entire Escalade into a Transformer, only the steering wheel, denying us Stockade, which then promptly latches onto this bitch's face.
Did that jerk just dent my car?
Just the steering wheel. Okay. Again, there's something that seems a little fetishistic about this scene. I don't like it. Another thing I don't like? The Allspark getting triggered for some reason. It seems to be connected to Sam running into the Escalade, almost like he accidentally hit the bring everything to life button, but there isn't one on the cube. Right? We also don't know what happens to any of these things because they all disappear by movie's end. So yay. No matter, we're moving on. Sam has arrived at the target building and books it across the lobby, but Megatron is right on his heels.
I smell you, boy!
Luckily, Sam manages to stay one step ahead of him. Somehow. Not exactly sure, but I suppose it may be kind of hard for Megatron to scale the building from the inside. However, you know it wouldn't be hard? Flying to the top of the building. So yeah, no way Megatron can't catch Sam. But as we went over already, he should have caught him long before he reached the building. Or really, even the city. Michaela, meanwhile, makes it to an alley with Bumblebee. She stops, racked with guilt about leaving Sam and the others. She looks back at Bee, who seems to be on the same page as her, giving her a silent nod. Michaela floors it out of the alley and gets Bumblebee into position to be able to fight Brawl. She goes full speed reverse, straight to the Decepticon. Once Bee gets in range, he opens fire with his cannon, as well as these shoulder missile launchers that we never see again. Seems like they could be handy. Between his fire and the military's, they bring down the Decepticon, where the experts in Cybertronian biology declare,
"The tank is definitely dead now."
Good, I'm glad you know how to identify a dead Transformer, even though you've never seen one. Besides that, this is a good character moment for Michaela, showing her knowledge of cars. It's also a good bonding moment for her and Bee, and is the last one we get of them in the series. So, great. Enjoy the character development while it lasts, folks. At the same time, Sam makes it to the roof and runs across it, flare burning. Starscream also shows up, watching with interest. So, yeah, he's in plain sight. Why do the pilots think they could possibly get away? They should break off the evac. But no, they act like Screamer's not sitting there like a vulture. Sam hands the cube to the soldier, but doesn't give it to him for some reason, almost like he's waiting for Starscream to shoot. I mean, it makes no difference. Even if he had chucked it to the guy, Starscream would have shot the Black Hawk down. Just an oddity. So Starscream fires a missile that hits the chopper and sends it spinning out of control. Optimus, meanwhile, is running to help Sam and just lets the helicopter crash. Why didn't he save it? That's a severe blow to his character when he's allegedly all about protecting humans. If they had a scene where he saved them, that could have accomplished multiple things at once. First, it would demonstrate to us Optimus is willing to go out of his way to save individual humans, showing the kind of person he is. Second, it would show the military the same thing, causing them to see that the Autobots are the good guys and help lay the groundwork for the military Autobot alliance in the next two movies. Third, it would have given a reason for Prime to be delayed, thus making sense of a later scene. At the same time, Sam recovers from almost getting cut in half, just to have Megatron burst through the roof and corner him. The Decepticon leader tries to talk Sam into giving him the Allspark, but Sam refuses. Megatron responds with smashing the corner of the building with his flail, setting off explosions. Somehow. I mean, come on, are there explosives in the building? In his flail? What's the deal here? Anyway, Sam falls 6 stories into Optimus Prime's waiting hand. So, I have a problem with this scene, and it's actually not the Prime catching Sam part. Obviously, it's a well-known problem in movies and TV of characters catching someone, and they are miraculously saved because they were caught instead of hitting the ground. Transformers has done this many times before, such as in the infamous episode Bot, when Streetwise catches a pair of people falling about 50 stories. But I don't think that's a problem in this scene, as it looks like they tried to account for that. Optimus's hand drops when he catches Sam, looking like he tried to match his speed and gradually slow the boy's fall. Given that he's a robot, I think we can grant that he can be more accurate than a human. No. My issue with this scene is that it doesn't look like Prime is in the middle of climbing the building to help Sam and just happened to be in the right place at the right time. It appears that he was waiting there for him. Now, isn't that good, you might say? It was a plan instead of dumb luck that Prime was in the right position? Normally, yes, but it sabotages his character because he was just letting Sam face Megatron by himself and requires some clairvoyance on Prime's part that Megatron would not kill Sam and the boy would end up falling off the roof here. So, yeah, I think this is worse than Optimus happening to catch Sam on his way up to Megatron. There's a difference between a plot hole and a contrivance. He should have been able to scale the building in the time Megatron was talking to Sam. Unless he had rescued the helicopter, thus delaying him, and he instead could have caught Sam while he was climbing the building. But no time to think about that. We got action! Optimus tells Sam to
Hold on to the cube.
Optimus drops to the ground below, using the 2 buildings to slow his descent, but Megatron is right behind them. Given the situation, it seems like Prime might want to just drop to the ground at some point, but whatever. Megatron slams into Prime, and they fall to the street, where Megatron gives Michael Bay his thoughts on the Transformers movies.
Disgusting.
Optimus and Sam have a nice moment where the former sees that goodness and humanity he was talking about earlier manifests itself in Sam, risking his life to keep the Allspark for Megatron. And Sam replies with,
"No sacrifice. No victory."
Nice way to see the phrase come back into the plot. Optimus then gives Sam an order. If he is not able to defeat Megatron, Sam has to put the Allspark into Prime's chest, sacrificing his life to keep the cube out of the Decepticons' hands. I've already talked about how this is not a great plan, so I won't rehash that here. However, I do appreciate Optimus' willingness to sacrifice his life, just wish it was more logical. It's also really considerate of Megatron that he just lets Optimus and Sam talk while he sits mere feet away. In fact, this next scene where Optimus gets up looks like it would be mere seconds after they both crash to the street. It doesn't even seem like Megatron got up enough to flick the director into the car. Optimus then says the famous line,
At the end of this day, one shall stand, one shall fall.
As the 2 brawl it out. Lennox's team approaches from an alley, only to be cut off by Blackout. Unaware of the humans, he trudges toward the battling leaders, ready to attack Optimus from behind. Epps calls in fighter jets, and Lennox moves in to do something. His plan seems to be he'll charge in and attack Blackout from close range. I assume because of this line.
Remember, aim low, armor's weak under the chest.
I don't know if that's something they learned from fighting Brawl, but are they sure that applies universally to Transformers? I have meta-knowledge of Transformers, and I don't know that that's true. Seems kind of flimsy to go out and do something dangerous like this. But I'm not going to tell him that, are you? I didn't think so. Unfortunately, Blackout sees the targeting laser and turns his weapons on the soldiers. Lennox rolls out and the humans duck for cover as the F-22s come in for an aerial assault. And, oddly enough, they are flying mere feet above the streets.
F-22 pilots would never fly below buildings. That's alien. That ain't friendly.
Uh-huh. Either these pilots are mavericks, or Epps isn't up to date on Air Force protocols. You decide. That's what the Transformers movies really are at the end of the day, a choose-your-own-adventure. You get to choose everything. The plot, the motivation, the meaning, the continuity, everything. So Lennox goes into this hellfire like a lunatic. I mean, talk about danger close.
Since when does Shepard care about danger close?
And this missile goes streaking by to parts unknown. Could have hit Megatron or Prime, may have hit an apartment building 3 blocks away, killing a family of 5. Who knows? Now, some people might say the Autobots and military are stupid for having this battle in this city, that it endangers civilians, but I don't see it that way per se. Just because you shouldn't go into the middle of Times Square and set up a makeshift shooting range doesn't mean a cop wouldn't be in his right to shoot an active threat in the same locale just because there are a bunch of people around. They have little choice, and there probably will be some collateral damage, but is that not preferable to the Decepticons destroying the city or even the planet? That said, they should probably be careful with some of the weapons they use. I mean, you don't want to just drop bombs on a part of the city where there are only civilians or anything. Seems like that attack vector was a bit dangerous, particularly if your missiles are not locked on. But despite this, and Lennox's possible insanity, Blackout is killed and the giant that destroyed Socksent falls. I like that Lennox avenges his brothers in arms. I just wish he hadn't done it so stupidly. As a second wave of F-22s approaches, Starscream appears and proceeds to destroy half the planes before being chased off. The jets seem to follow him, but I guess some stayed on the attack run because we see some fire missiles into Megatron, badly damaging him.
F-22 pilots would never fly below buildings. That's alien. That ain't friendly.
Megatron makes a charge at Sam, and I like this little shot of Prime tripping Megatron to protect Sam. However, because Sam is kind of retarded, he is out in the open instead of staying behind Optimus, and now Megatron, wounded but still kicking, has him cornered. Optimus orders Sam to put the cube in his chest, but Sam actually comes up with the smart plan of doing that to Megatron. Optimus says no, I assume because it's dangerous as opposed to believing it will somehow power up Megatron or something like that. On that note, though, this is a bit of an issue because Sam doesn't know the particulars. What if it does briefly power up the Transformer before killing him? And Optimus was going to use that to defeat Megatron and the other Decepticons before that happened.
No, don't ask me questions, all right?
But my main problem is what causes the Allspark to do that. It can't be proximity to a spark because otherwise Bumblebee would be dead. So it has to be somehow triggered by the person holding it. I've already expressed a few times my problems with the inconsistency of the Allspark utilization, but at least I can somewhat get behind a Transformer being able to tap into it since they were created by it. But how can a human use it? How would one know how to? Perhaps this could kind of work if they showed in the next movie that Sam is some kind of chosen one or something, which they kind of tap into that with him being chosen to get the Matrix, but they don't back up and explain in Revenge of the Fallen that this is what was going on here. But we'll save all that for its own video or videos. There's much rage to come with that film. Trust me. But none of that matters because Sam just killed Megatron and saved the day! Optimus then subtly tries to steal the credit when he says,
You left me no choice, brother.
Hold up. What does he mean by brother? Are Optimus and Megatron brothers? Like biological brothers, whatever that means? Or brothers in arms? That's not been hinted at in this movie. It seems like they are just lifelong rivals similar to G1. Of course, I know this is a holdover from when they were actual brothers. Megatron even killed their father, apparently.
Megatron may be my brother, but he is also the one who took the spark of our father.
But that was scrapped and not touched in the actual movie save for this line, which makes this strange. It would have been nice to focus on some of those connections between the Transformers in the, Transformers movie. If only there was other stuff we could have cut out. Optimus says that he owes Sam his life, a debt he will fulfill next movie, and everyone else shows up. I guess B just decided to stop fighting after killing Brawl, and Ironhide and Ratchet found Jazz, apparently, where we get a super lame acknowledgement of his death.
Prime, we couldn't save him. Oh, Jazz. We lost a great comrade, but gained new ones.
Like, I'm going to say that to someone the next time they're mourning the death of a friend. Hey man, I know you lost your best friend, but you'll find new best friends to replace him. What a stupid piece of dialogue to write. It feels like they knew they had to acknowledge Jazz's death, but we don't want to hang on to the sadness too long because this is the happy scene. The heroes won, and we can't have this stupid dead guy weighing down the mood. It just cheapens Jazz's death. But who am I kidding? He got a better acknowledgement of his death than other Autobots.
Permission to speak, sir.
No, I'm not going to let you speak. You decide to go this whole movie not speaking, and most of the rest of the film's not speaking. You could just go the last 10 minutes without uttering a damn word. How about that, B? Huh? How about that? So somehow this chucklehead is talking again. Was it Ratchet's laser? Was it the Allspark? The power of friendship? Who knows? Who cares? We need more feel-good moments. Anyways, no one gives a shit about what I want. I pulled 6 random strangers on the street, and the results were unanimous. And because no one does, we just skim past this scene and basically forget it exists in later movies. B says that he wants to stay with Sam, and Sam agrees. At least until he decides to go to college and leave B in his dad's garage. And I guess all the Autobots decide to stay as well, since the grand plan of fixing Cybertron went out the freaking window. Optimus then grabs a shard of the Allspark from Megatron's chest and saves it for later. Look, we're setting up plot devices for the next movie. That's thinking ahead. I have a couple of other issues with these end-of-movie Allspark shenanigans, but they are fine in this movie, other than what I have already mentioned, so I'll save them for next time. Meanwhile, Keller announces to Sector 7 that the President has ordered the agency terminated. This is one of the most unrealistic parts of the film. A president shrinking the size of government? Unheard of. It especially doesn't line up with Bush's presidency. But also, why would they want to terminate Sector 7? Is it because they're going to work with the Autobots now instead of hunting them? Just change the mission statement. Why tear down all the infrastructure of Sector 7 just to rebuild it into Nest? S7 can be the building blocks of something new. Ah, I get it. This actually does make sense with government operations. This is the equivalent of digging a hole and filling it back in. A favorite pastime of every government. Crisis averted, everyone. We almost had a plot hole, but we saved it at the last minute. I also think we should have seen Simmons' reaction to all of this. He's Mr. Sector 7, and we don't get to see his response until the next movie. What a waste. Keller then says that the bodies of the Decepticons will be dumped in the Laurentian Abyss, which is the deepest part of the planet at 7 miles. Well, the deepest part of the planet is 7 miles deep, but it's actually the Mariana Trench, not the Laurentian Abyss, which isn't even 4 miles. Research was ever an option for this movie. He then says that pressure and the freezing temperatures will crush them and leave no trace of their existence. I don't know what temperature has to do with that, but that's not how pressure works. Why, say, for example, a submarine is crushed by water depth is because the air is compressed inside the sub. That's what happens to us if we go too deep as well. But being robots, the Transformers have no air in them, or very little, meaning they wouldn't crush or only minimally. In a strange stroke of Revenge of the Fallen doing something right, they show that Megatron has not been crushed, and the Decepticons are also fine during the descent. But this brings up the question of why doesn't the government keep the bodies and study them? I can get giving Jazz some kind of proper burial, like they do in one of the comics, out of deference to the Autobots. But do the Autobots necessarily care what happens to the Decepticons' bodies? I don't know, maybe they do, and we could have had a line from Keller explaining that the Autobots want to give their enemies a proper burial, even if they wouldn't have done the same for them. Don't know, deserves more explanation, but why do I bother at this point? In a closing narration, Optimus states that they cannot fix Cybertron with the Allspark destroyed. Why? Why is Cybertron beyond repair? Why do you need the magical Deus Ex Machina to fix your problems as opposed to good old-fashioned ingenuity? This, as we later learn, is coming from a race that built a device that bends space and time to cross vast distances. However, Prime does state that the cube held all the knowledge of the Cybertronians, so maybe they forgot how to use hammers. It would explain some plot problems in future installments. So anyways, they decide to stay on Earth, and Optimus says they will watch over the humans in secret. Except for the part where the US government knows about them and works with them. But I suppose he's talking about humanity as a whole. He then sends out a message to any surviving Autobots to join them on the planet, setting up new toys to join the cast. I mean plot devices. I mean story expositors. I mean toys. Wait, I said that. Characters! That's what I'm trying to say.
I lost the word there.
Also, it's a wonder that humanity never found out about the Transformers with these two giving interviews. Wait a minute. What am I saying? No one knows about the Transformers? How the hell could you keep a giant battle in a heavily populated city secret from the rest of the population? It's just not possible. Dozens of people would have filmed it and hundreds bore witness to it. The government could never manage to keep a lid on that. Let's break down all the places the masses would have seen undeniable proof of Cybertronians. Scorponok's attack on the village, when Optimus stupidly decides to run down the street, the highway battle, and of course the entirety of the Mission City battle. Not to mention places where people saw something strange and could possibly connect the dots afterward, such as the Autobots' landings, perhaps some of Bumblebee and Barricade's altercation, perhaps the Autobots standing around Sector 7, and also Frenzy on Air Force One. I don't know if the government is covering up a crash in New Mexico or not, but if there were to be an alien war in a major city, the jig would be up. The same government that couldn't keep a lid on Watergate is going to hide the giant robot fight that caused millions in property damage? Right. Got it. Sorry, there's just no buying that. The writers shouldn't have gone with that plot point, especially since it's not supremely relevant to the next movie. Also, Starscream escaped, setting up the sequel. I guess. Would have been nice if his leaving actually did something for the plot in the next one. And I guess his alternate mode can fly in space, unlike the real F-22 Raptor. So, yay for that. And that's a wrap! Only one more part to go, the characters and themes of the movie. Definitely the most analytical part of the video series. But until then, go out and find more stories. Then I'll meet you back here where we'll examine another one. I've been Paul, and this has been Plot Spot.
See